In the quiet morning mist of medieval Europe, the world was very different from the one we know today. There were no cars, no electricity, and no towering cities filled with glass and steel. Instead, life moved slowly through narrow dirt roads, small villages, and vast open fields. Most people would never travel farther than a few miles from the place where they were born. But behind this seemingly simple life was a complex world of kings, knights, farmers, merchants, and monks. A world where survival depended on hard work, loyalty, and faith. Today, we travel back nearly 1,000 years to explore what daily life was really like in Europe during the 11th century. This was a time when powerful castles dominated the landscape, when the church held enormous influence, and when most of the population lived as peasants working the land. For many people, life began and ended in the same small village. At the heart of medieval society stood the feudal system. Land was the most valuable resource, and power came from owning it. Kings granted land to powerful nobles, and those nobles, in turn, gave land to knights who promised to defend it. Below them were the peasants, the people who worked the land and produced the food that kept society alive. Their lives were not easy. Most peasants lived in small wooden houses with thatched roofs. These homes were simple and often crowded, sometimes shared with animals during colder months. Inside, there was usually a single room with a fire in the center used for cooking and warmth. Food was basic but essential. Bread made from grains like barley or rye was a daily staple. People also ate vegetables such as cabbage, onions, and beans. Meat was rare for most villagers and was usually reserved for special occasions. Work began at sunrise and often lasted until sunset. Farmers plowed fields using wooden tools and animals like oxen. Every season brought new tasks: planting crops in spring, tending fields in summer, harvesting in autumn, and repairing tools and homes during the winter. Despite the hard work, village life had moments of community and celebration. Markets and fairs brought people together to trade goods, share news, and enjoy rare moments of entertainment. Markets were lively places filled with merchants selling cloth, tools, spices, and food. Travelers sometimes arrived from distant lands, bringing stories and goods that villagers had never seen before. Religion also played a central role in everyday life. The church was not only a place of worship, but also a center of learning and authority. Many people believed that their lives and fate were guided by divine will. Monasteries became centers of knowledge where monks carefully copied books by hand, preserving ancient texts and religious teachings. Meanwhile, castles stood as symbols of power and protection. Built from thick stone walls and high towers, they were designed to defend against enemies and control surrounding lands. Inside castle walls lived nobles and knights who pledged loyalty to their lords. Knights wore armor and carried swords, shields, and lances, ready to defend their lands when called. Yet for most people in medieval Europe, life was not about battles or politics. It was about survival. Growing enough food, caring for family, and enduring the changing seasons. Villages were small communities where everyone knew each other. People helped their neighbors during harvests, shared tools, and worked together to overcome hardships. Life could be unpredictable. Bad harvests, harsh winters, and disease could threaten entire communities. Yet people continued forward with resilience and determination. Over time, these small villages, markets, and castles slowly shaped the foundations of modern Europe. Trade routes expanded, towns grew larger, and knowledge gradually spread across the continent. What may appear to us today as a distant and primitive world was actually a crucial chapter in human history, a time when societies were evolving, cultures were forming, and the future of Europe was being quietly built. And so, as the sun sets over a quiet medieval village, smoke rising from chimneys and the sound of distant church bells echoing through the countryside, we are reminded that history is not only made by kings and battles. It is also written by the millions of ordinary people who lived, worked, and dreamed in these small villages nearly 1,000 years ago. Their world may be gone, but the echoes of their lives still shape the world we live in today.